Welcome back, guys, and we're gonna get a sneak peek at the upcoming World Chess Championship. This game is played between Ding Liren, the current world champion, and the challenger. Who's gonna be the challenger? Gukesh D. Now, when I saw that these two are gonna be playing against each other, I knew that this game was gonna be a banger, and it did not disappoint because there were some sacrifices, and who doesn't like a good sacrifice? So this game was just recently played in the Sinquefield Cup. I believe this was a day or two ago. That's when they played. And Ding Liren is white, and he plays E4, best by test, like Fischer said. And Gukesh responds with E5, knight to F3, knight to C6, bishop goes to C4. This is a nice diagonal. Maybe some tactics might exist, but not right now. And he also develops his dark squared bishop to C5, and he just castles. Ding castles, and Gukesh is also gonna try to castle as soon as possible. And right now there is a tactic. Well, you can take this pawn, and not right now, like he's gonna defend it and then you can take it. If he takes, you can get a fork right there, and he may need to go there so that he can recapture with the bishop. So I believe he's just gonna either develop the knight or bring the rook to the center. It's most likely developing the knight to prevent this knight from going there. So the knight is gonna go to C3, or you can play pawn to D3. That also works. And Ding just consolidates. Gukesh consolidates the center by playing D6. Ding is ready to open up the center by playing pawn to C3 because the king is still in the middle. He's gonna try to play maybe for D4, or even pawn right there, pawn to B4, attacking that bishop right there. And that is why Gukesh stops this idea by playing that pawn and clamping down on the B4 square. This rook is now lined up with the king. Maybe some tactics might be in the air with D4. And so Gukesh immediately shuts that down by simply castling to safety. H3, always a useful move. You don't want the bishop to go there and pin your knight. And Gukesh is like, hey, your bishop is pretty good. Let's trade it, buddy. I don't want you to be pinning my pawn. Let's trade it. So Ding decides not to trade. He's going here. He might take the knight, he might not. He just doesn't want to trade pieces at the moment. And Gukesh just drops the bishop back. He doesn't want the bishop to be a target. Maybe A3 and then B4. So he doesn't want the bishop to be there. Here is much safer. Plus, it still controls all these squares right there. So Ding is like, hey, if you're gonna trade my strong bishop, okay, I'm sorry, that is not what was played. So when Ding's bishop was eyeing the king, he wanted to trade it. And when Gukesh bishop is eyeing the king, Ding also wants to trade it. Because, those are some strong pieces and you don't want them to be eyeing your king like that. So let's see if Gukesh is gonna trade it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so he does decide to trade, and the rook takes, the knight drops back, and he plays D4. The knight goes there. He also drops the bishop right there, and the center is about to explode with D5. The knight goes there. Takes, and pawn to C5. Gukesh wants to open up things up even more. And Ding is like, okay, I'm gonna go and checkmate you. Apparently this was a mistake. You want to open up your bishop to this diagonal, but apparently this is a mistake. I think because I guess you're giving up. Well, you're not really giving up your pawn, but for some reason the computer wanted the king to go there instead of playing any other move. The king needed to go to the corner, and I guess it does kind of make sense because this move will not be possible if the king went there. And maybe after the king went there, then maybe you can play for d4 instead of d4 right away. So he closes that up. You don't want the rook and the queen eyeing that square right there. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a sneak peek of what happened. Okay, it was a nice short game. So this is the position right here. So Ding plays bishop to this diagonal, and apparently this was a mistake. The computer wanted this rook A1 to E1, just protecting this pawn. I'm not too sure what difference that makes, but he wanted the rook to go there, and then maybe you can develop the bishop to that square after. But nobody's losing yet. If anybody was losing, Gukesh was a little bit worse, but not completely losing, just worse. So Gukesh decides to push the pawn. I mean, it is a passed pawn after all. And Ding simply moves the bishop to a safer square. And this pawn advances to d3. It's 2 squares away from queening. So this, if pieces get traded, the stronger these passed pawns become. And Ding knows that. So Ding is gonna try to maybe stop the pawns or try to checkmate the king, before pieces are traded to the point where these pawns become more menacing. So let's see what Ding does. Ding decides to sack the bishop. Now this is a draw invitation. Basically there is no good move other than taking the bishop. There is no other good move. If you don't take it, you get checkmated. So you can either take it with the C, with the H pawn, or with the F pawn. And it doesn't matter which one you take. The next move is gonna be, it's gonna be the same move because he's gonna sacrifice another piece, and bam. And white is losing if he plays any other move besides these moves right there, which is just a perpetual. So white is down 2 pieces, and these pawns are pretty close to queening. So there is no other way of continuing the game besides just checking the king into oblivion, and the game ended in a draw. So it was a draw, but there were some sacrifices on the board, and at some point Ding was even better. Now if he could have converted that advantage is something else. From the looks of it, the games it was like around balance, but eventually it ended as a draw. The other thing to consider is that, because you can always give these checks, but whenever the king is on the light square, you can consider giving this check, but I believe that is losing because the king gets out. He gets to this square. I believe the king gets to this square, and eventually the king is gonna try to run away. It's gonna try to run away, and not only that, the queen is gonna try to get centralized, because once you take it and the king goes there, I guess you can try to give a check. but then the king starts running away. You can give another check right there, but the king runs away even more. And next move, he's gonna try to move the queen right there and hide the king somewhere over there. So Ding had no other choice. So this was a nice game, game that shows that well, Ding really needs to find his form, because he did have a nice edge that he wasn't able to nurture properly. And if he keep missing chances like those, then he's gonna have not the best of times come November. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.